Welcome to search-driven sites and cross-site publishing. This is a session that I absolutely love. You can tell I'm a geek because I just said I absolutely love SharePoint search. Of course, we're going to be doing a lot of demos today. I have some slides as well, but the goal what I want to show you today is the ability to create something in one place and have it available somewhere else. And to give you an idea, today, most of the intranets that I have been building with some of our customers, if you go to it, even public-facing websites, later on I'll possibly show you one of these public-facing websites, you'll see the entire website, but there's no actual content on it. And mystery, that's what I want to show you. So search-driven sites, cross-site publishing, will let the content creators and the authors create content in one place and show it the way that we want somewhere else. So again, welcome. My name is this guy. This is a cartoon version of me. Why not, right? It's Wednesday night, afternoon, whatever. So my name is Benjamin Nyland. I'm an MCT. I'm an MVP, but doesn't really matter, does it? It matters only that you have a good session, that you learn something. So don't hesitate if you have questions, though we only have 60 minutes, and I'm going to try to go through a lot of content. So we'll probably try and keep questions at the end if we can. There's nobody after us, so we can stick around. No problem. You probably guessed it, I'm not from the UK. Little town in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So if you want to talk about that as well, we can talk afterwards. Again, so this is me. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. The agenda. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to talk to you about. Before we even get into cross-site publishing and search, I want to talk to you about the existing SharePoint paints. Most of us may still be on 2007, 2010, or we just got to 2013, thinking of Office 365. By the way, everything I'm going to show you today can be done on Office 365. Some may not be exactly the same way, but I'm telling you right now, if you're on Office 365, you'll be able to do everything that I'm showing you, though there may be some differences, and I'll tell you about these differences. Is that good? All right. We're going to look at what's new in search very quickly, understand crawling. Don't worry, we're not going to go into the basics of crawling. I just want to talk to you about a concept of search and why it's important to understand. Because if you're going to start building search-driven sites, right? So the idea of a site aggregators or a SharePoint site that is only showing you search results, if you want to be able to do that, you need to understand the basics of search, right? If something doesn't show up, you need to understand why it's not showing up. If you had a document and it doesn't show up in your list of relevant documents, it's very important that we understand why. So it is important to get some of this and this, crawled and managed properties. If you do not know what this is yet, this is going to be the best part of the conference for you. Well, no, the second thing. First thing was the party. The second best thing is going to be learn. Remember that moment where you finally figured out content types and site columns and why it's so important in SharePoint? Well, crawl properties and managed properties is just as important. It's the foundation. It's like learning site columns, but for search. So if you want to build anything with search, you'll need to understand crawled and managed properties. So I definitely want to go over that with you. It has to be super clear. If you don't understand crawled and managed properties, don't hesitate to ask, because otherwise there's nothing you'll be able to build. If you don't know how to create a column, you're not going to go far with a SharePoint list or library. It's the exact same thing. It just sounds fancy. It sounds like a geek would use this, but it's actually pretty straightforward and pretty easy to use. Next, we'll look at cross-site publishing. We'll build it. I have an entire environment that I want to build with you. I'll show you a SharePoint site, right? That's going to have I think it has over 800 different SharePoint pages, but it's going to be built with 3 pages. Oh, all right? Ooh. The moment I figured this out, I think I had goosebumps that day. Because there's 2 things you should know about me. I'm French, Everybody stayed, very nice. And second, I'm extremely lazy. I don't like to work. I went into SharePoint because they told me the power users will do it. You can just give them SharePoint. And that was a lie, because SharePoint is a lot more work. I'm sure you all figured this out by now. But I'm a very lazy person, and if I'm going to do something, I want it to be reusable. I want it to be easy to build. I don't want to have to do this every time. Now, every time I get super excited, where I'm sure you too, right? You've just figured out SharePoint. You've gone to the SharePoint Evolutions conference. You get back to work. I can do this. I can do that. And then your customer or your own colleagues will say, well, and this is what I get all the time. I start setting up SharePoint, and I'm telling them all of the cool things they can do. And what do they tell me? Well, that's nice, Benjamin, but can you get a slider? Can you get a carousel? Yeah, I can make a carousel, but do you understand? We have content types, documents, web, and what's the second thing they always ask us? A slider and the weather. So today, I'm going to give you a slider for free using search that's reusable. I've built it once, so everyone in the world can use it for free. You can download the display template. We'll talk about that, but that's the idea. So we can move on and go to cross-site publishing. We're going to talk about the product catalog. This feature has nothing to do with products, right? The marketing at Microsoft, I would like to meet these guys. OneDrive for business, Skype for business, product catalog, but it's not products, it's for your lists, right? So I do my announcements, my events, and my intranet using the product catalog, but not with products. So it's very important because this is one of the best features in SharePoint 2013. It is amazing. When you see what we're going to do today, you're going to go back tonight and start doing it. We're going to talk about managed metadata navigation as well, friendly URLs, because there's nothing worse than saying, oh yeah, just go to blah, 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 /site, /something, /pages, /allitems.aspx. I'll see you there. No, you want friendly URLs. You want intranet /announcements /CEO. You want people to be able to guess your URL. And you want it to be just nice. Right? So we're going to talk about managed metadata navigation, but the cool thing about the product catalog, and you'll see, is you don't even have to set up managed metadata navigation because it'll do it for you. And finally, I'll just talk to you about the concept of search-driven sites. Right? That whole concept of today, my intranets show 300 announcements after 1 year, but these 300 announcements are on a single page. Although they look like there's 300 pages in my intranet, there isn't. You know what that helps me do? Lazy. When they call me and they say, hey, we need to modify the announcements so that anybody that's looking at an announcement, there's a little button at the top right now. There has to be that button. So you have to go through the 300 pages and add that button even for the past announcements. No problem. Because I don't have 300 pages. I have one. So then, but I pretend, right? I say, I'll see what I can do. It might take me a couple of days. Finish it in 10 minutes. Can I get a raise? I did the good work. So this is all that we're going to see. Is this going to be a dev session? I don't know how to code. So no, it's definitely not going to be, I like TV. If you guys watch shows, you're going to see a lot in here. So no, I don't know how to code either. I've gone into SharePoint from Exchange, from SCCM, for those of you that know that, from SCOM. Again, Microsoft Marketing. Did you call a product scum? All right, anyways. So I've gone from that IT pro world into SharePoint because of the demand, because of being able to build solutions. And I want to be able to build solutions, as many solutions as possible for my customer, for whoever, because I get happy doing it. I'm proud to say, hey, I've built you a slider, and I don't know how to code. Now, HTML, some CSS, for sure. But I can actually do some really cool things, and search is my best friend, right? So this guy's pretty fun. What are we going to show us in SharePoint? Well, the idea of search-driven content is to find and to display. So I need to show you how you can build your own queries. How can you do cross-site publishing? Cross-site publishing is a fancy word we gave, right? All it means is you write content in one place, search picks it up, shows it somewhere else the way you want. So what you want is to find something and to display it. I'm going to show you something pretty cool. I'm going to go into my SharePoint. Oh, by the way, guys, I have a Mac. Is this going to be okay? Everybody's like, but you're a SharePoint MVP. Yeah, so I still do SharePoint. All right. So here we go. I'm going to show you, this is my SharePoint. And by the way, the Mac comes with a zoom. Very nice. So I want to show you some examples. For example, what you see here, right? You see a display template. What is these over here? It's actually this SharePoint list. Content, you want to find, and then you want to display, right? So this is even responsive. Badly responsive, we got to fix that. And there we go, right? So, and by the way, this display template will be available as well for you to download. And I want to be able to go and find the same content. Do you see something different here? I'm a horrible designer. There's a little plus at the bottom. And when you press on it, it shows you something. It's a pop-up. What is this? It's a list somewhere. It's a document library, actually. Right? Search-driven content. You can make it look like anything you want. What do I use this for? Contact us. Help. Announce anything that I want to keep all the time, but people, now of course it's not a little plus at the bottom of a page, it's something, but every time you scroll down it's always there and when people need to access it. But it's search driven. So it always gets updated with the content wherever it comes from. Right? And lastly, the famous slider. You guys see it? Slider, there it is. Right? So a little slider that's actually this document library over here. Now that's not all. I like to show off my SharePoint, so I click. Wow, it's fast. SharePoint can actually be very fast. And this is a side note, it has nothing to do with cross-site publishing, but a lot of time I meet customers and like, well, no, we're not going SharePoint, it's slow. No, SharePoint can be extremely fast, I just showed it to you. Right? I can click, 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 and go anywhere I want in this environment, and it's going to be instant. Right? So SharePoint can be extremely fast. And if you want to, it has nothing to do with SharePoint. It's SQL Server. It's where the database that gets the content and then shows it to you. The search that shows it to you. The loading of the page is the only SharePoint process. So if you're interested, I actually have a white paper step by step. You can give that to the geeks that do SQL Server, and they'll make your SharePoint go fast. You guys still doing okay? All right. Now everybody has kids, they show their kids. I have a dog, I show my dog. So good, because I have some issues with SharePoint 2010, right? Showing data from multiple lists and libraries, you want to show it at the same time. You want to aggregate stuff, right? Change the date, change the design, change the look. Most important one, contextual results. This one bugs me a lot. And I don't know if you guys have it as well, but I went to go work for a company, a large company. It's called Pratt & Whitney Canada. And Pratt & Whitney, they make engines for planes, and they make tons of other military stuff, pretty big. And Pratt & Whitney Canada doesn't mean they're just in Canada. They're worldwide. It just means that they make the smaller planes and helicopter engines, whereas Pratt & Whitney US makes the bigger ones for the big planes, right? So we went there, and this is back in 2010, SharePoint 2010, so it was maybe in 2011, maybe 2012 actually, and we're setting up the intranet, and of course, the golden rule of SharePoint, don't call it SharePoint. So we called it eSpace, just in case the project fails, and we can do SharePoint again. So we launched the project eSpace, and we're planning the intranet, right? We're planning what we're gonna put on the homepage, and then it got complicated. So somebody said, well, we should have a section that says useful links. Yeah, fair enough. Let's put useful links. 1 week goes by. They come back to me. Here you go, Benjamin. This is the useful links. So I'm looking at this. I'm looking, okay. Quick question. How did you get this list? Because there's 4,000 people in this organization from around the world, right? Here in Europe, in South America, in North America, different people, different offices. How could this list be useful to everyone exactly the same? Finance, engineering, the guys building the engine, then it's not the same as fine. So how did you come up with this? I'm pretty impressed. And they're like, oh, we chose it. What do you mean you chose it? Yeah, we're communications. These are the links we want to become useful. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. They have to be useful, not become useful. So like push, yes, this is going to be useful links. No. So search fixes that for me, right? Because I tell them, look, we're going to go see all of these different departments. We're going to see what the links are important for whom, right? And we're going to think about this correctly. We're going to create a list. You're going to put your links in there, and then we're going to provide them to the users contextually. Because search can do that. It can use the user's profile to filter out. And I have a step-by-step, actually, that you can go and get that where I build announcements like this. If the announcement is tagged with sales as a column, and you're a user in the sales department, then you see the announcement when you load the page. Otherwise, you don't. Search gets the content from a place and displays it, but it can also use the context of the person visiting the page as well. So this was definitely a big pain point in 2010. And in 2013, it becomes a lot easier to solve because the search in 2013 is going to be, and you'll see, so this cable is awesome. I'm going to fall by the end of today, that's for sure. So changing the look of what we're seeing. Somebody told me once, and you know, it's too bad, but that's what it is. The prettiest picture wins the funding. If I have an intranet that looks better than yours, and you have more features, there's a chance that I'm going to get more people using my intranet. And it's just like that. I'm not saying it's always like this, but you want not... Let me tell you another story. I don't know what time we got. The thing is, you guys know a little bit about databases maybe, or Access, or SQL Server maybe, right? How does that work? You have a database site, SharePoint site, database. Inside this database, what do you have? Tables, list, okay, list, tables. And then what do? You create views, pages, right? And so, would you ever build a database and then tell your users, there's the database, go ahead and serve yourself? No, right? Even your emails don't work like that. They go in the Exchange server database, and then you use another interface, a tool, that shows them to you in the way that you like. And every 3 years, there's a new Outlook, just looks different. But the emails just go in that same database. SharePoint is the same thing, essentially, except that we think we'll let you go ahead and go directly to the lists and go directly to the libraries. Right? My quick launch, by the way, never shows lists and libraries. The quick launch on the site, never. It shows pages that shows the lists and libraries the way that I want. Because otherwise, it's the same thing as telling users, go straight to the library. Go ahead. It's going to look horrible. You're not going to understand. You're going to try and filter yourself. So the search for me is a big, big, big thing. And that's why we're going where we're going. Now, the previous solutions before to fix all of these problems. Anybody use Content Query Web Part? Okay, in 2010 and 2007, it was my best friend. It solved all my problems. Right? It allows you to query content and then show it and then change the display if you manage to edit the display. And the problem with the Content Query Web Part, put 3 on the same page, see what happens. Extremely slow to load. Right? And it requires XSLT, which is why I keep changing my haircut, because I keep losing hair from that XSLT problems. I hated XSLT. I hated it. I know some usually I get some people after the session, hey man, I don't know about you, but I loved it. Me, it didn't work so well. I even would make, one day, I started creating the XSLT for something. I didn't get that. Somehow I built something else because I thought that was, I just went along. XSLT was using me. I wasn't making XSLT. And I created something, I'm like, okay, save. Right? 3 months later, I open it up, look at the code, I'm like, who created this? I don't understand anything happening in there. It's the usual stuff. So I'm glad that we're no longer doing this. Other solutions was search, but nobody trusted search. Right? Search was awesome in 2010. We just never configured it. We thought that we just next, install. And yeah, that must be what Google does. Next, install. There's nobody actually working at Google or Bing. It just runs by itself, search. No. So what happened is we didn't trust search, and we never built anything with it, really. And then lastly, coding. I don't understand coding. I don't know. I opened up Visual Studio once. I got really confident one day. I'm like, hey, give me the Visual Studio install. No. Close, uninstall. I do not understand what's going on. So, yes, in fact, I hate XSLT. This is Saeed from Lost. Again, I told you this would be TV stuff. Now, yes, I'm saying there's something better out there. Again, shout out to Bronx, my dog. All right. And I want to show you how we get here. But we saw the display templates in action. That's the ones I just showed you, the animated menu. That's how you make something look different and how you search with all the demos that I just showed you, the little slider, the animated menu. That's just using the out-of-the-box search results web part. Out of the box. You use a display template. Don't worry about how to create them. That's not the point of this session. But you create a design using HTML, CSS, and what you get from search. And I want you to take away one thing from this session. When we're talking about search-driven websites or search anything, I want you to stop thinking about the search box and typing stuff in the search box. That's not what we're talking about, right? So take that one away. What I mean by search-driven content, I mean that the page is built using the search engine, right? Because everything that you store in SharePoint and more is taken in the little search database, right? So then we can take that and on a web page say, put on this page everything that you found in the search that's this, and that. And so when you arrive on the page, it already shows it to you. And that's what we're going to look at. But don't get too excited. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be easy or that the method I'm going to show you today is going to save you X amount of hours of work. It probably is going to be the same amount of hours to build the solution. It's probably going to cause you just as much pains here and there as you start figuring out search and this and that, right? It's not necessarily easier. It's a simpler solution long term. It's more flexible, a lot more flexible, right? As you build it, it becomes reusable by everyone, right? Before, we would build a slider, we would give it to somebody, one site collection, but no one else could use it. We would have to rebuild it, change the code a little bit. That's done. Once you build a design one time, everyone can use it. And the beauty of SharePoint 2013 and Office 365 is that they give the power of that search admin to a site collection administrator. You don't have to be in the central administration. You don't have to be the admin of SharePoint. You can be in charge of your site collection, not even the full site collection administrator actually, and you can do quite a bit of damage. Good and bad, depends what you do. Oh, sorry. No, I gave it away. All right. This is our objective. It's not going to look as nice. The branding is not my thing. The CSS, I can apply the branding, but we're not here for that. What I want to show you is how to build with 3 pages. That's the concept of cross-site publishing here in combination with the product catalog. Is that I have the home page. Let's eliminate it. Let's just forget it. We have a category page and a details page. A page that shows everything under a category that you selected, and a page that shows one item. So far, so good? By the way, the king of display templates has just entered, ladies and gentlemen. He will make this look good, not me. All right. So my objective is to get all of these, right? So if we think about it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 phones. Technically, I should have 9 different pages that shows each phone. No. It's going to be search-driven. It's going to be one page. And based on what you clicked on the previous page, it's going to change the search. Search-driven content. You guys doing okay today? Not putting you to sleep yet? All right, all right. Not with my style. So what's changed? They told me you're going to be Wednesday, last session. I said, I'm going to remove all my slides with the bullets, and I'm going to put images. So first, you got to understand what's changed in SharePoint 2013, right? In the future, SharePoint. All right. So search. Honestly, if there wasn't search, in 2013, I tell you, you know what, just stay in 2010. It's better, but it's not that much better that you need the cost of migration and re-architecting and moving the site actions back to the right? So what's really changed is the search. And with the search, many things. And I'm not going to go over every changes. I'm going to talk to you about 2 or 3 things. But I'm too excited about one particular feature not to talk about it. Because I just discovered it not too long ago, so I want to share it with you. It's called, now get ready because it's geek, entity extraction. You're like, oh, thank you. Don't care, it sounds geeky. But it's actually pretty simple. Entity extraction is a fancy word that says, if your users don't fill out the metadata, it doesn't matter. The search is going to go in your document. And if it finds words that you've identified in a dictionary, it's going to automatically tag your documents. I just figured this out, man. This is awesome. You mean I can have SharePoint and not having people filling out a mortgage form every time they upload a document? Right? So look up entity extraction. It's actually very, very, very powerful. It doesn't solve all our problems, but you can say if a document, if you find the word invoice, quote, or this and that, automatically tag it with that. And then we can use search to show them. Find me old invoices. Nobody tagged invoices. Doesn't matter. All right. Oh, tons of things. Content search web part is a new the content search web part is a new web part, but it's only available in enterprise. And the search results web part has been updated to be exactly like the content search web part, except for one checkbox. So I'm never going to tell you upgrade to enterprise just for this. Upgrade to enterprise for other things, but not for the content search web part, because the search results web part does everything exactly the same, except for one checkbox, which is not that bad. And I'll talk to you about that later. Display templates, no more XSLT, tons of things, which allows us to build search-driven sites. But you'll hear 2 very often, right? And you've probably heard this before. When you hear about the marketing from SharePoint, from Microsoft, from other speakers, from me maybe, you hear about 2 things very often. You know what they are? New features. Anything? Have you heard of fast? Yeah? They like to throw that one around. And then what is the other buzzword around search that I'm sure have heard? Continuous crawl. So these 2 are the most powerful words that are actually completely both not true in SharePoint 2013. So let me explain. Anybody from Microsoft? Oh. No, he's... Okay, so no, they're actually very amazing. Everything's good. No. What happened is that Fast was another company, right, that got acquired. And in SharePoint 2010, you had to pay $50,000 for the license, for the privilege of using it, which is, Fast is an amazing product, but it was $50,000 in terms of licenses. And then you needed PowerShell and a lot of configuration to get it working. Once you did, it was amazing. In 2013, we get set in our heads that Fast Search is now in SharePoint 2013. They took pieces. They took the language, the query, they took the pieces that they wanted and they put it in it. But it's still SharePoint search, right? It's a lot better. Algorithms, speed, topology, it's made for scaling. It's funny, quickly after that, we got Office 365. Right? Fast is for the scalability especially. Right? It adds the thumbnails and stuff like that, but it was for the topology on the ground. And then, oh boy, continuous crawl. This is an actual quote. I don't get sued or anything. Let me put this down, because I need to talk to you guys. Continuous crawl. Now, you guys are English, most of you, so you know the language. What does the word continuous mean? Always, right? I don't have the feeling that something stops in continuous. And crawling is what search does. It goes, let's pretend this building is a SharePoint farm and it's brand new. There's no walls, there's no rug, there's no chairs, there's nothing. If the search, you tell them, hey, every 15 minutes, you have to go crawl. So I'm the crawl. Sounds bad, doesn't it? Sounds like I'm crawling. No, I'm the index. Oh, okay. And there's a little file cabinet right behind this desk. You can't see it. And I have to go across the entire building, my SharePoint farm, collect the information, what I see, and I got to put it in this file cabinet so other people can know what's in the building without running around like I have to. But my boss told me that I have to do this every 15 minutes. So I go, the building's empty. After 5 minutes, I get back, and I have myself a London Pride beer, and I'm good. 10 minutes goes. It's been 15 minutes. I go again. Right? So far, so good? This was how it has always worked. So I'll never forget the day where I heard continuous crawl. Whew. This is going to solve all my problems. That means that it's always going to go. Why did I get excited? I got excited because little old me that was going every 15 minutes but finished early, one day my SharePoint admins decided to actually launch SharePoint. And now there wasn't just empty buildings and empty walls. My SharePoint has sites, documents, versioning, libraries, configurations, metadata. And so for me to finish, doesn't take me 15 minutes. It takes me 4 hours before I get back and put it in the file cabinet. Am I right? So what happened to all those 15 minutes? I never did it. So the user says, hey, I added a document. It never showed up in search. The admin says, well, I set it up for every 15 minutes. Did you check in and publish your document? Please. Yes. I have published my document. Thank you very much. Right? So the problem was simply the search process couldn't come back in time and start again. So when I heard continuous scroll, I got excited. But continuous scroll is every 15 minutes also. So what is continuous? Well, I would call it parallel crawl. What continuous crawl does is, hey, we send somebody, it's been 15 minutes, we're supposed to launch another one, why don't we hire another guy? Oh, brilliant. So hire another guy. How do you hire when you're a computer? With CPU, with RAM, with whatever resources the server has. Right? We know from past versions that the search has always been the one that consumes the most juice. Imagine now you've got running parallel crawls. So be careful with that. The first time I thought that was I went to a customer, I thought it was the best thing in the world. I'm like, oh, don't worry. I'm going to turn on continuous crawl for you. You're going to see. His farm crashed. It went like this. And I had no more SharePoint. I felt bad. I felt really small, turned it back off. And I'll tell you about SharePoint continuous crawl. It's really good to have it, but you got to choose where you're going to have it. If I'm going to build a public-facing site using search heavily, yeah, it's going to be continuous crawling that site collection. But if I'm building some site that people are going to go read content from a library, I'm not going to be using continuous crawl. So just for you to know, there's some information to change the schedule so it doesn't run every 15 minutes. But you should know what it is because if you're going to build a search-driven site, you should know why something doesn't show up. Right? You depend on search now if we're going to be doing this. If your entire intranet relies on search-driven content, then you're going to need to make sure that this runs. And if something doesn't show up, then you know that you have to wait 15 minutes or that continuous crawl needs to be turned on, whatever the case. All right. This is the most important part of the session. I mean, after it's going to look good. I'm going to turn on some features. You're going to think I'm super cool, but I'm really just going to click next, 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 finish. You'll remember this. I'm not really going to do anything. What's important is this out of this session. If you can remember and understand this, you're going to be really, really, really happy. So how can I explain this? Let's look at a list. This is a list, all right? There's the columns, and forget these two columns over here for now. What's the worst way to create a column? Straight in the list, straight in the library. You go in the ribbon, and you click on Create Column. There's a hidden message, actually. When you click on that button, it also says to SharePoint, I don't care about that column. I don't care. Because it tells exactly that to SharePoint. You don't care. You're needed right now, but it's not that important to you. Not enough to be available in search, because it won't. Right? There's some exceptions. Manage metadata column. because it's global. But every other type of column you create, it's normal that after when you go in your search and you're looking for the refiner on the left to filter by, it's never going to be there. Because you told that SharePoint, you don't care. And I'll explain to you a little bit how that works. The search is crawling, remember? You create lists, libraries, sites, and the search crawls. And it puts in the little file cabinet. So when it passes through your list and you created a column, that column becomes a crawled property. So we've got that one out of the way. When I say crawled property, I mean a property that got crawled, which pretty much all the time in SharePoint means a column, right? Or metadata for the geeks. Meta, more, data. If you take a photo and there's a date, metadata. All right. So what I want here is if the search crawls a column for you, but you told SharePoint that that column is not important, I'm sorry, that you clicked on Create Column, the only thing you'll be able to do with that is search the exact value that people entered in that column. So if I create a list of contacts, and I create a column called company name, and I create a contact, and I type the word Microsoft in that column, search passes, I'll never be able to say, find me all the contacts where company equals Microsoft. That's never going to happen. But if I type the word Microsoft in the search box, I'm going to find that content. Just because it's a crawled property. I crawled it, I have that word, but that's it. So far, so good? All right. All right. So I create a column using Create Column button. When the search passes, he takes that column and their crawled property.
How should I do that? So right where doing that.
Okay, so that's automatic, right? The search passes. If you type the word Microsoft, you're going to find that item that people tagged with Microsoft. But if you go into the search, or if you try to build anything using content search, search results, or if somebody goes into your search center and types all contacts, or John, and that's a contact, and you know on the left of the search, there's filters that you can use to reduce the list of search results. Microsoft is never going to appear there. You're never going to be essentially able to filter, sort, or show it in a design. So in my slider, if I was showing all the contacts, I would never be able to put the name of that company name, ever. Because I told SharePoint that column is not important. It's only important if somebody types the exact word. All right. So, my goodness, I'm hot, thirsty. Managed properties come in. Managed property, it's simple. There's no exception to the rule. Managed properties are that's the only thing, always, ever, forever, no exceptions, it's the only thing you can use with search. If you're going to create a design with Mr. Display Template, Elio, can I use crawl properties? There you go, the king said it. You can only use managed properties to create designs and show these in the design. If you create a slider and you want the title or the whatever that was a column, if you want it there, it has to be a managed property. If you want to filter by, if you want to sort by, if you want to create announcements with cross-site publishing, if you want to do anything, it needs to be a managed property. What's a managed property? It's an empty shell. You give it a name, and you say which crawled property goes in there. What's a crawled property? A SharePoint column. Also, if you indexed your file share, then crawled property is also the properties of documents, subject, notes, comment. Right? But we're in SharePoint, so crawled properties most of the time just columns. You got to put them in these empty shells called managed properties so that you can then use it. So that I can go on a SharePoint page when I'm going to be showing my announcements and say, show me all the announcements that are from executive and are from CEO, because they were tagged with those words. To be able to do that, I need to have managed properties for the columns that I had created. It's also for another reason managed properties, because we can put more than one crawled property into it. So managed properties, you guys doing okay? Not too tired yet? All right. I put tomatoes under the chair, throw it anytime. One time, somebody actually checked. There's no tomatoes. That's a joke. All right. So the managed properties, when you create them, let's go easier. Let's go easier. Do you ever notice that whenever you search something, there's always the title that shows up in the search result? It's the first big text, and you can click it. It's the title of your document, the title of your announcement. Whatever you search, the title always shows up, and you can click it. Am I right? The title is the title is a managed property. It's not the title column. It's an empty shell, somebody called title, and they said inside of this empty shell, I'm going to put the title column, and I'm going to put the subject line of an email if what I uploaded was an email. I'm going to go take whatever I want, and I'm going to put it inside the title managed property, and I'm going to make sure that that is always in the designs that Microsoft uses to show you results. That's why title always has something. In fact, let me do a demo here. I want to explain to you one thing, though. I went to see a customer who was really pissed at me because I told them to use SharePoint, and they uploaded documents in a document library, and when they showed them in search, it would always show one result, 43 duplicates. And they had called me like, Ben, they're not duplicates. They're different documents. I'm like, oh, that's weird. All right, I'll come. I'll never forget. It was Friday, and it was late. I wanted to go home. So I went anyway, to a pharmaceutical company in Montreal. And I go there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's true. It is showing duplicates, and they are different documents. So I thought, okay, well, what if we put different titles? Because it's based on the title it looked like. So what if we change the title of the column in SharePoint, and we put different values, and we flush the index, we restart the search from scratch? What did I get? One result, 43 duplicates. My goodness. So in SharePoint, the name is awesome, by the way. There's a feature that you can't turn off called Metadata Extractor Optimize. No. Metadata Extractor. Metadata Extractor is a feature that used to be called, what is it called? Optimistic Title Override, or Optimistic something override, forget. And what it does is it says, Benjamin, I am search, and I see that you've put a title for this document. I'm going to be optimistic here, and I'm going to help you out by ignoring this and going inside of the document, finding the first big word that I see. In a Word, it would be H1 or H2. In PowerPoint, it will be the first big text. And in Excel, the first big text that it sees. And I'm going to assume for you that that's what you want. For me. Why? Well, because they can never be nothing in search results for the title. They have to have a value. So they say, well, people tend to not fill out the title column, so I'm going to go inside for you as priority number one. And so what we did, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to go into SharePoint. I can go into the central administration, or I don't have to, but I am going to for this occasion. There we go. Oh, my SharePoint is fast, huh? Jealous? No, not yet. All right. Well, I had to say it. Now it's slow again. All right. Search. And you can do this side collection by side collection. And I'm going to click on Search Schema over here. Search Schema. You remember this page? You ever see this page? If you did like me from 2007 or 2010, when I arrived here and I said, oh, oops, back. I had no idea what this meant. But now I do. Manage property name, the empty shell name, the columns or the crawled properties that are inside of it. That's it. I mean, there's mumbo jumbo here, and for the advanced people, that's nice, but that's the core that I need to know. So I'm going to look for title. I can see that I'm going to go inside of it. Zoom out, go down. And here, somewhere down, you can see the list of crawled property from top to bottom in priority that it's going to take. So when the search results happen in front of your page, and your design, your display says, I need a title here, I need the managed property title here of the item that you found, it's going to go here and says, well, first we're going to use the metadata extractor title, that thing that it does. If it's empty, we're going to go to the term title. If it's empty, we're going to go to the documents property title. If it's empty, we're going to go to the base name property. If it's empty, we go to the title column. If it's empty, we go to the mail subject column. You get it. So I took metadata extractor, and to the right, I clicked move down in priority. And that's it. You get crawl property, manage properties. I know it's a little bit advanced, but it's going to help you for the next part, the demos part. Everybody good? Usually, it goes okay, but it's important. So you know what? Just to be sure, because I know it's Wednesday afternoon, just to be sure, pop quiz, guys. If I plan to use a search-related web part to show my content, what kind of property should I use? You guys are awesome. Good job, good job. All right, so we've got the basics down. We're good. The next step, crawled and managed properties. So I already showed this to you. We just did it, actually. I'm always one step ahead of my demos. Now we get to cross-site publishing. But cross-site publishing, there's nothing to it. There's no button. There's no activate. There's no secret web part. It's a concept. The concept of writing the content in a list somewhere and using the search web part somewhere else, cross-site. There's no secret sauce here. All right. This is cross-site publishing. If you notice anything particular about this design or this drawing, this is from Microsoft. I didn't do this. Anything in particular? Look at the arrows. Nobody, you gotta take a picture. Nobody ever goes directly to the source. There's no arrows. It's not a content query web part. It's a content search with the search. So what do I have? I have publishing site collections. I mean, it doesn't have to be publishing, but I have usually publishing site collections. My intranet somewhere else in another country, an extranet with my customers. And then I have my authoring site collection where people create content. Because over the years, I found one thing. We either make SharePoint extremely beautiful for the person visiting and very difficult for the person creating by making it beautiful. Because now it's hard to access the ribbon, slide left, right, down, a little bit like this, and highlight, down, scroll. Or we don't make it nice and it's easy to use. Because SharePoint is, you go to a list, new item, blah, 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 form. Okay. These people have already things to do. You don't have to give them an extra training. All right, so we changed the design. Therefore, when you're going to click on attach image, you got to go that procedure over there. You're going to have to go up. No. No, what we're going to do is we're going to create a SharePoint list that's not branded and a SharePoint site that's not branded. We're going to create a list announcement, a list events, a list clients, a list blah, blah, blah. You create your columns correctly, because if you create them as site columns, they'll automatically get turned into managed properties. So if you create site columns while you build your SharePoint, you don't even have to worry about the managed properties because they'll automatically be created. They're going to go create the content somewhere that nobody cares about for branding, for this and that. It's going to get put into search database or the file cabinet over here. And then they're going to use search web parts to query that and show it. Cross-site publishing. How are we doing?
How does multilingual variation aspect, how can that be looked into?
That's a very good question. You're going to have to, it's very complicated, and actually, I'm going to say it's not that good at the moment. But it can be done. You can change the values with the language pack, so you shift language, you change the name of the column, you use manage metadata column who has synonyms, right, for different language, and then you'll have to do it at the destination, right? When you go to the destination, you have a site in English and a site in French. You'll have to change the query in each of them. One goes in queries for the English, one goes in queries for the French, but honestly, it's not easy. And for that, I'd be a little bit careful with that. But we've done it. It's been a lot of work, but it can be done. Or you can talk to me after. I can even show it to you. All right. So we're going to talk about the product catalog. This design is not too. It's too complicated. It's already late. We're going to skip it. So the product catalog takes cross-site publishing and puts it to use with an actual feature. So what you see here is a home page. You have navigation here, but it's not actual navigation. What you see here is actually a column in the list where people create the content. So imagine, this is what we're going to do, all right, today. You create a list called announcements, in this case, products. In one of the columns, you have the main category. In this case, what kind of product is it? Is it a phone? Is it audio? Is it a computer? Is it a home appliance? Is it TV and video? Right? And because it's a managed metadata column, it can even be submenus, levels, childs. When you use the product catalog, and you'll see, it actually automatically allows you to turn it into the navigation. So the column you created becomes the navigation, but it doesn't have to take over the entire navigation. It can just be one piece. And you can connect many catalogs to one site. So I'll have the announcement catalog, the events catalog. I connect the catalogs to my site. They become, one column becomes the navigation. And you'll see the rest. Did you have a quick question?
Would you recommend using that for a global nav?
Yes. Absolutely. You have to know about some things, though, because it does use the managed metadata navigation. And if you don't trust your server to give you the managed metadata navigation, it's slow, right? Because the global navigation out of the box, it's just words right here and there. It doesn't query anything else. So you just have to make sure that you trust your service applications. If you don't, servers shaky a bit, I'd be wary. So, we don't have that much time, so what I'm going to do, because there's going to be slides, I'm going to do demo, and I'm going to explain to you the process, right? Because we've understood the core that we needed to. The crawling, and why something would show up or not, and why I would need to do a crawl. What is a crawl property? What is a managed property? Because everything relies on that. So let's go and check it out. All right. Open my browser and go back to my sites. And I'm going to go, I've already created the site collection. And here you'll see that I have a list called products. This list called products, at the moment, is just a list. This site is not anything in particular. I didn't put anything secret. I didn't do anything high. This is just a regular list. Because in fact, in SharePoint 2013, every single list in every single site that you have, including the sites that you already have, can be turned into catalogs. What is a catalog? It's you saying that this list as a whole, I want it available in search to be mentioned and asked for as a whole, as a catalog. Can you bring the announcement catalog here? I'm going to use it in the publishing site. Instead of you building a query saying, go over there, query all that URL that has announcements, but no. You just go to that list, you say, this is a catalog, option, 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 and it's saved as a bucket so that your power users can go use that bucket, can go use that catalog, the announcements catalog, contacts catalog, partners catalog, whatever. It's like a list, but in the search index. Does that make sense? You guys having fun? All right. You're not here to learn, you're here for entertainment. No. All right, so what I've done is regular columns, lots of columns, and very important, a column with a hyperlink to an image. Right? So I've got lots and lots and lots of items, lots and lots of page, lots and lots and lots and lots. What's important here is to look at the list, go to list settings, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to show you some of the columns. And one of the most important one is the item category. It's a managed metadata column. You guys comfortable with that, right? Term store. And in there, I have the terms electronics. And under electronics, I have audio. And then I have TV and video. And then I have this and that. And under telephone, I have others. So it has like 2 or 3 child levels under each term, right? And then I have other columns which got crawled and which are turned into managed properties so I can use them in the design that we're going to need. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, and there's an option called Catalog Settings to turn this list into a catalog. If you don't see it, you just need to turn on a feature for the catalog. Right? Every site, a team site can do this. I'm going to zoom back out. It's going to ask me a couple of questions. First, do you want to enable this library as a catalog? Yes. It's funny because everywhere in SharePoint, they call things list. They even called libraries list. You go into catalog, and they call list libraries. What's going on? So I'm going to, yes, turn this list into a catalog. And this is the most important part. This is what makes the product catalog for me. It says, do you want to turn on anonymous access? If you're crazy like me, you think that that means that you're going to turn on anonymous access. But no, that's not what this is for. If I turn this on, I'm going to do it. If you go try to access this, it's going to tell you access is denied. You do not have it. Nobody has access except the people that have access. By turning on anonymous access, you do not turn on anonymous access. By turning on anonymous access in the catalog settings, what you're saying is that you want the catalog to be available anonymously, not the list. All right? Because what is the catalog? It's the list, but in the search database, right here in the file cabinet. It's as if I'm telling you, you have access to the file cabinet, but not where it got that information from. So you can't go to the list, but you can see, if you ask it, everything that was in it. I want you to see what I'm going to use. I'm going to create basically, I want to be able to put these products on a page that you're going to see. You're not going to know where these come from, and you're never going to be able to access the source.
In index, is that a separate storage location?
Of course, yes. It's the index, an index file. It's separated into a SharePoint database and an actual file called the index file that I'm going to continue. I'm running out of minutes, unfortunately, but I get back to you. But it is stored somewhere else. You've got the library itself, search passes, takes all the columns called crawl properties, turns into managed properties. All of this, that's called search. It's in that file cabinet. The file cabinet we call the index. The index is a file separate from SharePoint, so to speak, over there.
No, I was asking if that index for catalog is within that index.
Of course.
Is catalog different?
No, it's all in. So I made it anonymous access, but this is the best part, guys. Best part. What fields in your SharePoint list do you want to use to build the URLs? The URL can be built automatically with the columns that you've created. So I'm going to create the URL with the group number and the item number of each product. For you, it could be announcements. It could be from the announcement category and the author. It could be events. It could be the category, the title, and the date in the URL. I don't care, whatever you want. And then it's going to ask me, if we're going to use the navigation, which column, it has to be a managed metadata column, which column do you want to use for the navigation? And I'm going to choose that item category column. I'm going to click on OK. And right now, it's still not a catalog because search has to go and pick it up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go. Normally, this is scheduled, but because this is my demo environment, I told search to never run unless I tell it to run. So normally, this is done through the crawling, either continuous crawl or regular crawls based on the 15-minute schedule. So right now, it's going to run. It's going to take a few minutes, 4 minutes. So I hope you guys still want to stay if you have to go. I don't mind at all.
This works with incremental crawl.
Yes, well, you need a full crawl. You have to wait for full crawl. However, there's a new option in SharePoint that allows a list administrator to go in list settings and say that when the next incremental crawl passes, you want to be able to have it full crawled. So that's right here. If I go back to my catalog, which I'm going to do very quickly here, and then we're going to be done. Going to the products catalog, going to the list, going to list settings, and you go to advanced settings here, you're going to have the option to reindex your list. And the next incremental crawl is going to say, whoop, and it's going to full crawl that list, giving the power to the SharePoint site admins or the library admins. So far, so good? Didn't lose anyone yet? All right. The next thing that you want to do, you go to the publishing site somewhere else. You go anywhere else. Now, what you could do is go to my Contextual Electronics site. It's an empty site. Right? Nothing special has been done. What you could do for cross-site publishing purposes, you take any search box, right, any search results web part, and you show something that's not on your site. That's cross-site publishing. Right? I don't think I'm going to do a SharePoint evolution session on just putting the search web part, because I'm sure you can Bing, Google something, and Will can talk and I can show you that. What's important is to understand the catalog option that makes cross-site publishing something else. What I'm going to do is keep talking for 4 minutes so that it passes. Everybody's like, oh, you're kidding. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is you go to Site Settings, and there's an option in there called Manage Catalog Connections. And once the full crawl has passed and saw that this is a catalog, picked it up, puts it in the index, it's going to be available here. Now, let's click and see if it's there. You click on Connect to... If this was paper, I'd be pissed. Right? Because we have a full white page for nothing. But we're going to click on... We're Canadians, we're like green. All right. Connect to a catalog. There it is. And it's going to show you all the catalogs in the search index and allow you to connect them. So I'm going to connect it. I'm going to go through the options. It's going to ask me whether or not I want to integrate this catalog into my site with the navigation, with the pages, and everything's going to be done for me. Or do I want to just connect it, allowing power users to just show it in search boxes wherever they want. This is the just connect. It's really just to bring the list so that it's available easily, so that a power user doesn't have to build a search query, can just say, show the announcements catalog, show the events catalog, show the partners catalog, and use my display template that I got from Elio's website and just show it, right? So here it automatically says, what do you want to use for navigation? But I already set it in the catalog, so it knows. Which word in the term do you want to use? And do you want to use the root term, that one, in the navigation, or do you want to start below it? I want to start below it. Remember I told you it's going to be next, next, next and stuff? I didn't click anything. We're going to pin the terms to the site navigation. So the site navigation for this site has its own terms from the term store. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy those into this site's navigation so that they're independent. You don't have to. You can keep them linked from the source from your original site. But I want to copy the terms in case I want to change them in this site and not change the source. Do I want the URLs to be relative to this site? That means, do I want people not to see where the actual product is? The URL to the actual site? Of course I don't want that. So I'm going to keep them relative. And then best part. How are you going to build the URL? What is this? Manage property. So I can even click on manually define it. If I know the managed property name that I created before, I can take manual and type it in myself, allowing me to build custom URLs based on the columns in my list. This is possible in SharePoint 2013. And lastly, I want SharePoint to create the category page and the items page that we mentioned earlier using what master page. We'll take Seattle. And we're going to be done. I'm going to click on OK. We're going to look at what happened. And you're going to have seen cross-site publishing. Of course, it's going to all crash. SharePoint demos. No, it should be fine. Anything different? Look at the navigation. Cameras, camera accessories. Hey guys, we're on the same page. We're on the same page. We're still on the same page. I'm still on the same page. And I'm still on the same page. I'm still on the same page. I'm still on the same page. Still on the same page. Do you get my idea here? It's one page that has a search web part that got automatically added, and it uses what you click in the navigation to filter the search. And you can reverse engineer this very easily. These are available in the term store now. If you go into the term store, you can find these words, and you can change some of the settings as to what it's doing on the page. You can change the search results as well that's on the page to do whatever you want. Change the design. If I click on one of the items, I go to the item page. Whenever I'm going to click on any of these items, I'm always going to go to this page that has no design whatsoever at the moment. But you create a design with HTML, CSS, JavaScript if you want, which is fairly known, or you can ask someone about this, and you can make the design look anything you want. So I have step-by-step, you'll see if you download the deck, the PowerPoint presentations, I have videos, I have this as an hour-and-a-half step-by-step exercises, I have another step-by-step blog post with a video as well on to create it with announcements list, to create it with events list. I just have another video and step-by-step that allows you to filter based on the user. So if I show up on this page, it's only going to show me phones, because I'm Benjamin. But if you go on that page, it's only going to show you TVs, because you're John, whoever, Elio, right? It can be contextual based on the user, because now we're using search, and search allows you to connect and use the user's profile to filter what's on the page. The level that we can go to with this is immense. In fact, I love using this. All of our intranets today, and before we leave, I'm going to show you one public-facing website that's all the way in Montreal. So we may have to wait for it to load on this internet connection. I'm not 100%. There we go. This is a website for a city district next to Montreal. There's a lot of corruption. We went through 6 mayors with that city, so the project was quite long, but not because of SharePoint. We've got lots of corruption. In fact, if you want after, we'll talk a story how the mayor's wife tried to flush all the money. Very interesting stories. So what do you see here? There's actually no content here. There's no content on this page. This navigation, that's not the global nav. That's search with the results with a display template. So there's no content here. Where is it? It's in another site collection. Somebody's going laughing, going, that's how I create an announcement? New, fill out the form, okay. And that's it. It's just going to make it look nice because that's the web developer's job. He's going to make it work. He's going to make it look good. Intranets, extranets, team sites, search-driven sites. Imagine that your design is an entire page. Right? When I click on something and I go to a page, it's the result of one search. If I click on Contact Us, you don't have a Contact Us page for Germany and a Contact Us page for your office in London. No. You do one Contact Us page, a list that has all the offices, and based on my user profile, when I arrive on that page, it shows the right thing. I hope this gives you ideas. That's my main focus for this. We went through the demos. Okay, so guys, I did prepare a little bit. All right, so it will be a lot of trial and error. You will run into problems. Contact me if you have any questions. That's why I'm here. But good work. Governor of the United States. Well, all right. Not anymore. So you have tons. You can follow me. I have tons of links that can help you out. I hope this has been helpful. I'm sorry if we went over time, but I hope you learned something or got some ideas for when you get back. Thank you for staying on Wednesday in the last session. Thank you very much.